Well, I didn't. I have like mad school teachers here today. I didn't get much sleep last night, so I'm a bit out of sorts. But so Jordan Maxwell is gone. I was on Veritas Radio last night with Mel, and we were recording the show. And halfway through it, he got a text from someone. He says to me, they just heard Jordan Maxwell died. So, how did I feel about? I mean, the man's obviously left a huge impression. How do I feel about Jordan Maxwell? Well, it's a kind of a mixed bag. I mean, on the whole, he was definitely, a force for better in terms of spreading knowledge. And he definitely introduced people to a lot of subjects that they didn't know about before. Things like astrotheology and stuff like that. And to his credit, he was the first of the kind of non-redneck. And I don't mean that to put rednecks down, because I quite like rednecks. But, like, conspiracy theory in America in the 60s was divided into two kind of wings. One was regular people, or people involved in artsy kinds of things, who just mulled about the Kennedy assassination and that kind of thing. Karen Silkwood, that kind of thing. And on the other end of the scale was like, kind of like neo KKK types who would be on shortwave radio going, wake up, white people! Wake up, white people! Zog Magog is coming! It's coming. Barry Drew more types, Zog Magog is coming. It is says in Elijah 14:25-76, there shall be birds in the air, and those birds they will fly, and they will fly to the south where the wind will blow the locusts upon the fields and upon the crops. Could that be any more obvious, folks? They're talking about the federal government. They're telling us about the federal government in Isaiah, those kind of things, that kind of thing. And posse comitatus, And he was the first one to kind of come along in that post-era who wasn't carrying the same baggage. Like, he specifically mentioned that there was no Jewish conspiracy, and that was basically a handy thing, and I agree with that. There isn't. They're not in charge either. And that kind of thing. And to his credit, he said things like that. So, he diffused what was a lot of anti-Semitism and a lot of racism in general in that scene. And, he introduced people to things like the very strange thing of the Cleopatra's Needles, the obelisk from Egypt in the major cities and stuff like that. And, he definitely got people thinking and going. He's a lot like Manly P. Hall that way. Like, Manly P. Hall has a lot of good stuff, and he has some monumental bullshit. The Manly P. Hall stuff about the ancient Celts and the Druids is the biggest load of crap. He just pulled that out of his ass. And it's rubbish. He hasn't got a clue what he was talking about. And Jordan Maxwell could be sort of like that too. He said he saw dinosaurs and stuff once. Yeah, he said he saw a T-Rex. Look, Google, he did. And so maybe he did. I don't know. I just think it's a bit out there for me. And like I said, there's other things too. Like, he was the one, I think, that really began that misleading thing about the L on the dollar bill and the L in Bohemian Grove being Molech, because Molech is associated with L. Molech was never associated with an L. Molech is a bull. It's always a bull. He's part of that Indo-European bull veneration cult. That's what, the golden calf was when the children of Israel started to doubt Moses when he was up on Mount Sinai. And they were that was about to warn them not to go back to paganism and worship the gods that the old Israeli kings of Gehenna worshipped, and the old pagan gods. And what was I going to say? So he said that Molech was an owl. Molech is not an owl. The owl in the dollar bill and the owl in Bohemian Grove, and I was the one who deciphered that successfully, is the goddess Athena, and that's the owl that represents her, the symbolic owl. And that's I made a film about it. I'll put the link below in the comments. Weaving spiders not welcome here. Well, the weaving and then fools, do you think you can burn me? Arichain the Weaver in Greek Hellenic mythology said that she insulted the gods. She insulted Athena, and for her impotence and wickedness, Athena turned her into a weaving spider, and that's what that means on Bohemian Grove. Weaving spiders not welcome here. And so he was wrong about that. So I wouldn't say it was disinformation. I just think that he didn't always get it right. But on the whole, he did. He was a force for good because he opened people's minds. And he got them thinking about things like astrotheology, and which is a very kind of like a strange subject because a lot of it is nonsense too, but even though some of it is real. But a lot of people obsessed with astrotheology, they tend to be stuck in the same cycle. They don't break out and discover that there's other meanings to things. So so Jordan Maxwell. So it was just a weird thing that yesterday I was making a video, the 40K video, and I'd mentioned that I just mentioned Jordan Maxwell. I don't think I've ever mentioned Jordan Maxwell ever in one of these vlogs, and then lo and behold, that same day he dies. So a weird synchronicity. So anyway, that's another one gone. That was kind of like, no matter what, he's a legend. He was definitely a unique individual, and he was his own thing. So the world is a better place for people like him. We need more people who are not made from the same mold. And he comes from a time when we had far more individuality and individual think behavior and characters than we did today. We fuck all characters today. You notice that? Like when I was growing up, Ireland and the world was filled with characters. And everyone had great stories. These weird, these characters they met. And you don't have that anymore. It's all pod people now. I think back that my generation were very fortunate because we got the kind of, there's characters I encountered all my life growing up that, even a brief encounter with them, I've never forgotten them. As a kid or something, I've never forgotten them. I can remember working, it's a good one. I was working on a building site, and there was this outfella there from Tipperary. That's the horrible, no offense to people from Tipperary, but you have a fucking horrible accent. And the Tipperary accent to me sounds like a toilet being flushed. If you could if you open the mouth and you heard toilets being flushed, that's what the Tipperary accent always sounded like to me. And this guy's from Tip Town, and we're sitting there one day, and I'm looking through on our lunch break, and I'm just sitting there, and I was just a labourer, and he's still looking at me, and I'm reading the tabloids, and he goes, "You know your man." You go, no, that's not wrong. You know your man. What? And I go, what? Your man. What? You're fucking queer. You're a fucking queer. And I'm going, who? You fucking know. You're fucking queer. Fucking queer. He's a singer in a band. I says, what? Who? You're fucking, he's a fucking queer. Who? Your man. They're from the Rolling Stones. And I go, Mick Jagger. Yeah, him, the fucking queer. And I go, but he's not queer. He's not gay. They're all fucking queers. And he goes, you know what he does? And I go, what? The queer injects himself. The queer injects himself. And I'm like, that, that was his way of saying he was a heroin addict or whatever. And I just when I think about that fucker to this day, and that was literally the only conversation I ever had with him. That is reference for how he is just by saying calling someone a fucking quack, I was supposed to figure out that was Mick Jagger. That was like that was all the information you could deliver in that awful Tip Town accent. And you don't meet characters like that anymore. You just don't meet them. They just don't exist. I used to work with another guy called Mr. Fuck. That was his that was his nickname. His real name is John. He was actually a nice fella, but everyone called him Mr. Fuck because every second word out of his mouth was fuck. And this is when I was a young kid working as a dishwasher in a place, and he worked there. And then one day, one of the guys, he's okay guy, wasn't a bad guy, he was a nice fella, but he was a lot older. He was like near retirement or whatever. He was in his 50s, but his nickname was Mr. Fuck because every word out of his mouth was fuck. He was a real Dublin man, and thick, tired, like this, a real Dublin accent, And one day, one of the lads in work was reading a book on commandos in World War II, and he comes over and goes, "Let me fucking see that." Oh yeah, him there, yeah, Bradshaw, he was a fucking cunt. Oh yeah, I remember that guy. Oh, that fucking cunt, that fucking bastard. That your man fucking, what was his name? Oh yeah, fucking McGregor, that fucking cunt. I remember he fucking marched us all out to fucking Operation Market. I'm gonna go, well, look at him, go, what? And he goes, oh, did I never tell you I was in Operation Market Garden? I was in the commandos. And it turns out that he was in the actual commandos, in the British Army in World War II. And he'd cut fellas' throats at German troops. He cut their throats from behind and everything, killed fellas. And he was crossing a river and they were seeing and they machine gunned them, and all of them were killed except him and another fella. And yet he never spoke about this until somebody just by chance brought in a book on World War II and the commandos. And he just opened up about it. Not in like a negative way, he just matter of fact kind of way. But again, a character. So we don't have characters anymore. We don't have someone to say, how many people today could say, or young people especially could say, do you remember this guy? He was something else, wasn't he? He's a character. And they don't. It's all pod people today. It's all pod people. Nearly always exclusively, from what I could see. And there's very few characters out there. Very few. And the colour of the world has gone in many ways. The sort of rich tapestry of humanity has kind of vanished. And that's why I think half the reason why I make up characters like Antoine Deco and Barry Drewmore and Nigel Nonsmania. Remember Nigel Nonsmania? Nigel Nonsmanic from VON. Satanic pedophile flying over England in his pedocopter. The 8234 backed up. Satanic pedophiles 3 miles back in both directions. The pedophile, the pedocopter report from the news. I mean, I think I make up half those characters to compensate for the fact that we don't really have characters anymore. We have pod people who wear masks when they're driving cars and put up Ukraine flags on their profile picture. And none of them can seem to think for them. So few of them. Like, where are our characters today? Where are the ones that in future people say, oh, I knew this fucker and he was like this, or I know this woman, she was like this, I knew this person, he was like this. They don't exist. Everyone's a fucking... And even you look at all the young people, so much their fashions are the same. All the girls look the same, those fucked up eyebrows, Like, I told you, like, there was a group of Irish girls recently, and women, there were women actually in their 30s and 20s and 30s, and I was talking to them, and I couldn't tell which one was which, because they all exactly the same dyed blonde hair. They just all look like each other. They were just clones, and there was no characters. That's what's wrong with the world. We need characters. And so when Jordan Maxwell was a character, for the stuff he didn't get right or he got incorrect, and doesn't matter. He left an impression. He was a character. He was you look at like the novels of Charles Dickens, they're filled with these colourful characters, and the world seemed to be a much more dynamic place in the past, where there was less, people had less material stuff, So as a result, their personalities and their individuality grew and flourished. Where nowadays people have a lot and they don't really grow. You know, they all become pod people. Suburbia does that. So that's really I'm sorry if you come from Tipperary and I insulted you, but that's what I'm the only one of many fellas I met from Tipperary to have that accent. But anyway, but I had a girlfriend from Tipperary once. Yeah, she was from Nina. And that's where they that's where they used to make the old ambulances. Nina, Nina, Nina. Take care. See you later.